Good morning everyone. In today's class, we'll discuss regarding Dracunculiasis, which is also known as guinea worm. So this Dracunculiasis, it is a vector-borne disease and it is a parasitic disease. It is a vector-borne and it is a parasitic disease, and it is mainly affecting the subcutaneous tissues, that is usually the leg and the foot. It is mainly affecting the subcutaneous tissues, mainly the leg and the foot, and it is caused by the nematode parasite. It is caused by the nematode parasite, which is known as Dracunculus medinensis, and it is not, although it is not lethal, this parasite disease can disable the victim temporarily. Means, although it is not causing any death, it can disable the person temporarily. Coming to the problem statement of this Dracunculiasis. So the progress towards the elimination of this Dracunculiasis in the past decade has been spectacular. So if you see, in the year 1989, there were about 8,92,000 cases in the year 1989, but when it compared to the current trends, like 148 cases were only recorded in the year 2013. So if you see, in 1989 there were about lakhs of cases, but in the year 2013 it was 148, and when it is compared with 2012, there were only 542 cases. That means it is having a great control. We are having great control over this disease. So the largest decline in the number of cases occurred in South Sudan. So where it had occurred, the largest decline had occurred in the South Sudan, and at present only in Ethiopia, Mali, Chad and Sudan and South Sudan are the cases who are the countries who are reporting these cases. So coming to the environmental factors, in the agent factors, we have adult parasite. It inhibits in the subcutaneous tissue. Where it is inhibiting? It is inhibiting in the subcutaneous tissue, and mainly it is affecting the lungs and other parts of the body. It is affecting the lungs and other parts of the legs and other parts of the body, mainly head and neck, which are including head and neck. And this male worm, it is only very short in length when it is compared to the female worm. The female grows up to the length of 55 to 120 centimeters, and the male goes up to the length of 2 to 3 centimeters. So the gravid female makes its way down to the infected person lower limb near the skin surface. So just I want to show you the life cycle of this guinea worm. So this is the life cycle of this guinea worm. How, when a person is drinking the contaminated water, this contaminated water is having copepods. Copepods mean nothing but these are the smallest larvae which are present in the frogs, crabs and fishes that we eat. What is happening? Whenever this fish is eating this larvae is automatically present in the fish, or the larvae is present in the water. So whenever we are consuming that contaminated water, so human drinks unfiltrated or containing copepods with L3 larvae, then this larvae is entering into our digestive system. Once it is entering into our digestive system, there it is laying a fertilized egg. It is causing a fertilization. The fertilized female worm migrates to the surface of the skin and causes blister. So once the larva has entered into our body through contaminated water, it is going and hosting in the stomach. So after it is reaching the stomach, it will take about 1 year. To go and settle in the food. So in this meanwhile, in this 1 year, this female guinea worm which has entered, this female Dracunculiasis which has entered into your body, it will develop up to the 3 feet long. It will develop up to 3 feet long and 2 mm in diameter. So this one will enter into your leg, and when the symptoms will start to appear, the symptoms will generally start to appear after 1 year of the infection, after the 1 year of the larvae has entered into your body. So it will appear first like a blister. Once that blister has broken, the larva will start to appear on the skin. The larva will start to appear on the skin. So whenever this the larva is coming, when a person goes and again washes his feet in the water, or when he keeps the feet in the water to relieve the pain which is caused by the blister, then the female worm which is present in your body, it is capable of releasing the larvae again. A female worm here is capable of carrying like 30 million larvae. A female worm which is present in the human body, it can carry about 30 million larvae. So whenever the foot is again exposed to the water, again it is releasing the water. It is releasing the larvae into the water, so that the larvae are again contaminating the water. And whenever the healthy human is drinking the contaminated water, he is again ingesting the larvae into his body. Again the life cycle is being started. So this is the Dracunculiasis life cycle. So coming to the topic here, what is the agent? The adult parasite. The adult parasite is the agent. What is the main, which gender is causing? Means it is the female Dracunculiasis which is infecting the persons. So when it is entering, it is penetrating into the dermis, and it induces inflammatory reaction and subsequent blister formation, as I said. So upon contact with the water, the blister soon ruptures and the parasite releases up to 1 million microscopic free swimming larvae into the water. So whenever the matured female Dracunculiasis is exposed to water, whenever it is kept in the water, it is capable of releasing up to 1 million microscopic swimming larvae into the water. So whenever a healthy person is drinking that contaminated water, automatically he is getting infected. And the larvae which has entered into the fresh water, it can stay up to 3 to 6 days. How many days it can stay? It can stay up to 3 to 6 days. So they are picked up by the small fish. So whenever this larvae is released into the water, these microscopic structures, these are picked up by the small fresh water crustaceans called as cyclops. These larvae require a period of about 15 days to develop in the cyclops. So as I said earlier, when the larvae is released into the water, the small fish larvae, which are the microscopic structures of the larvae which are released into the water, are consumed by the fresh small water animals. So these are called as cyclops. So whenever the larvae is entering into the cyclops, these cyclops, the larvae need about 15 days to develop. So it will become a intermediate host. Whenever the larvae is entering the cyclops, it is taking some time period to develop, and it is using the larvae, the small fish, as a intermediate host. So man acquires infection by drinking the contaminated water containing infected cyclops. So whenever a man is drinking the water directly from a river, so these cyclops which are present in the water, if these cyclops are getting infected by the larvae which is released by the infected person, then automatically the healthy person also will be getting infected. In the human body, these are digested by the gastric juice, and the parasites are being released. So once the parasite is being released, it will penetrate into the duodenal wall. It is penetrating into the duodenal wall, and subsequently they migrate through the viscera to the migrate through the viscera to the subcutaneous tissues, to the various parts of the body, and it will take about 10 to 14 months. So as I said, it will take on an average it will take an year to develop in the body. Coming to the reservoir of infection. So what is the reservoir of infection here? An infected person harboring the gravid female. An infected person who is harboring the gravid female is an reservoir of infection. The possibility of an animal reservoir exists but not proved. The possibility of a animal reservoir exists but it is not proved. We have the intermediate host here. What is the intermediate host? The intermediate host is the small cyclops which were infected by the larvae which is released by the infected person. And the next one is host factors. Coming to the host factors. Host susceptibility is universal, and they multiple and repeated infection may occur in the same individual. So the host, it can occur in any person, and multiple and repeated infections can occur in a same individual. Here in the environmental factors, The main link in the transmission of this disease gunia worm is infected water. So which water? The water which is containing cyclops, the cyclops which are infected by the larvae. So these are the main source. So you can see in seasonal variations also, we can see the seasonal variations in the disease are marked by where the step wells are the source of water supply, and peak transmission occurs during the dry season, that is during the March and May. So mainly in season, if you take the seasonal wise, mainly they are occurring in the dry season, that is in during the March and the May season. And when the contact between open cases of gunia worm disease and the drinking water is the greatest, and there is little transmission when the wells are full during and after rain. So whenever a person is drinking the water from the wells and rivers and other sources, if the water is contaminated with these infected cyclops, so whenever the infected cyclops are consumed by the healthy person, then the infection will start to appear in the person's body. And the other one which is saying is, it is mainly, you can see the peak incidence during the March and May season. Coming to the temperature, the larvae will develop between 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. The larvae will develop between 25 to 30 degrees Celsius.
And it cannot develop below 19 degrees Celsius.
Therefore, the disease is mainly limited to tropical and subtropical regions. Coming to the mode of transmission, the disease is transmitted entirely through consumption of water containing cyclops harboring the infective stages of the parasite. And gunia worm disease is a totally water based disease, and this does not have an alternate pathway transmission. So the only way for this disease to get transmitted from one person to another person is only through the contaminated water. Coming to the treatment, so there is no particular treatment for this gunia worm, but metronidazole and mebendazole are sometimes used to limit the inflammation and facilitate worm removal. And here wet compress may relieve discomfort, and the occlusive dressings improve the hygiene and limit the shedding of infectious larvae. So worms removed by sequentially rolling them out over a small stick. So I will show you the image here how to remove the worm. So you can see here it in the image. This is how the worm is being removed. The worm which had came out, it was tied to a stick and it was not allowed to go inside again and again. So what they will do, these things, what they will do, they will tie it to a matchstick so that it is not getting inside again. So this is the process of removing the worm in case of this Dracunculiasis. Coming to the eradication of this gunia worm disease. So in eradication, the gunia worm disease is an amenable to eradication. The eradication strategy comprises of, first one is through which forms it is occurring. It is mainly occurring through water form. So if you are able to disinfect the water, then you can achieve control over this disease. Correct or not? So first one is mainly the provision of safe drinking water, mainly through piped water and installation of hand pumps, not to go and drink in the rivers, wells and ponds. If you are able to do this piped water and installation of this hand pumps, then you can definitely control the disease. And the next one is cyclops, control of the cyclops. And third one is health education of the public in matters of relating to boiling or sieving drinking water to the double thickness cotton cloth of personal protection. What it is saying, whenever you are drinking the water, you should be able to purify the water. If you are purifying the water, then we are safe from this disease, Dracunculiasis. And the next one is surveillance. So as soon as we find a Dracunculiasis case, it is our job to inform the health authority as well as to educate the community members, so that the person is not contaminating the water, the person is not infecting the other persons. So we have to do this active search for the new cases and gunia worm eradication program. So I will attach you the link of this gunia worm eradication program also. You can see it in the YouTube. Thank you. Thanks for listening. If you have any queries regarding the topic, you can contact me through my WhatsApp and email. Thank you so much.